Right. Okay. Hello. Hi, everybody. This is
Hi.
Kathy Cray dialing in from IMCO, into the International Integrated Maternity Healthcare Organization. And welcome along to this week's live maternity natural health webinar. And this week, I'm very pleased to introduce you to a Kiwi comrade, Shannon Dunn. Say hello,
Hi.
Shannon.
Hi, Kathy. Thank you so much for having me.
It is really great to have you along. And I want to introduce you all to Shannon. But before we do that, just a little bit of housekeeping. We'd love to hear whereabouts you are in the world and your role as a health professional. So do go into the chat section and let us know. Or maybe you're a mum expecting a baby, or maybe you're a mum who's had a baby, and this particular topic is very relatable to you. And so let us know where you are and who you are. That would be great. It's great to sort of hear about that audience. So go into the chat section. And also down the bottom of the screen, for most people, depending on your device, is the Q&A section. So if you have any questions for Shannon, please go in there and type them on in, and we'll definitely make sure that your questions are answered through the process of today. Or the next 45 minutes or so. But just a little introduction to Shannon. And Shannon and I have known each other for, a few years now, Shannon. And she's got a very unique specializing topic. So I'm thrilled that we've finally got you here to talk. And so just a little bit of an overview. Shannon is a mother of two. She's a journalist. She's an eco beauty editor and a holistic wellness guide. But her focus on work has been supporting women to remember their inner calm and their innate power, and to understand their body and its incredible healing capabilities. And Shane's certainly got an interesting story to tell you. She's contributed to many of Australia's leading natural health and holistic lifestyle type magazines, and is also regularly sought after for holistic beauty and wellness advice with her expertise, and work featured on many international websites. And her passion is to spread that message, around real health can only truly be attained through body, mind, and spirit synergy, which of course is a founding philosophy for IMCO. And Shannon also works with the Teo Trust, which is a global charity for children and teens who need holistic health and well-being. So look, huge welcome to you today. We're going to be talking, or Shannon's going to be talking to you about healing prolapse, pelvic prolapse, and a holistic approach to this. So welcome, Shannon, and please, introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Kathy. Hi, everyone.
Tell your story, because it's an interesting one.
My story with prolapse began in 2012, so it's almost about 9 years ago. I just had my first baby. I was living in Melbourne, and it was 3 months postpartum, and my husband and I went for a walk. And the story, I will go back a little bit, but this is just the moment that prolapse happened to me. We went for a walk, and I had Bub strapped to the front of me, and I came home and went to the bathroom and literally felt my uterus drop. And I didn't know what had happened, obviously, because no one had ever mentioned prolapse to me. And it's the common story for most women. So I grabbed a mirror and I say in the introduction in my book, I felt like my brain had descended because I was in fight or flight and, horrific. So I ran out to my husband and said, oh my God, what's going on? And dialed emergency, and they said, you've got to get straight to the, ER. So we went to, with our 3-month-old baby, we went and sat in the emergency room between 3 and 4 hours, and finally got to see the doctor, female doctor, and she said, "Oh, this is common, nothing you can do. Just you can have it stitched up when you finish having babies." And I was like, this is not right. This is shocking. Why aren't people talking about this? And why was the doctor so dismissive? Sent me away with no tools, no reassurance, nothing. So the first thing that I did was obviously research. And of course, the first thing that comes up is Kegels. So I spent like a couple of weeks madly trying to practice Kegels, and terrible. And it made things worse. And I intuitively knew that it wasn't going to heal. How could Kegels pull my uterus back up to where it belonged? So my next step was to go and see a Mayan massage therapist. And so I went to see her, and she told me I had a particularly bad case and that it wasn't possible to heal, and that I would have to wear a faja, a piece of material that goes around the hips that basically stops the uterus from falling out. It was such a stressful time, but there was something inside of me that said, this is not going to be your story. You can heal. And I've always known the human body has incredible healing potential. So obviously I had to sort of sit in the situation and deal with my uterus almost falling out. It was a stage 2. It was a bad stage 2. And I intuitively felt, my loved ones were saying to me, you need to go and see a physio. And I said to them, it's not what I need. So my first port of call was to work on my chakras, which I did. So I reached out to a gentleman in South Africa, Marcus, and he sent me over some crystal elixirs, some chakra elixirs. And I began working on my chakras. And from there, I went to see a healer in Auckland, Cara, who's amazing at Healing House at Beyond the Veil in Ellerslie. And from there, because I worked on my chakras, it led me to working on the next best step and the next best step and the next best step for me. So from my chakras, I went on to nutrition and the whole holistic picture to healing prolapse. For me, prolapse, the moment the prolapse happened in 2012 was really just the straw that broke the camel's back. That wasn't the cause of prolapse. The cause of prolapse was back to my childhood, when I didn't feel good enough about myself, when I talked down about myself, through my teen years when I was bulimic, even through lifetimes and lineages. Like I found out later my auntie had prolapse. There were issues on my mother's side with alcoholism and things like that. And it gets passed down, these triggers and, lack of self-love, lack of self-worth. It all affects the physical. Look at the science of epigenetics, and a lot of people probably know the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton. We're more affected by our environment than anything else. So how we speak to ourselves, how others speak to ourselves, how we take that on, it all affects the physical. So I intuitively knew that I had to look at this as a holistic picture. And because I did that, and because I had the faith, because I had the belief, and I didn't give up, I was able to fully heal. And
it's such an amazing, interesting, journey, isn't it? That so often we take into a place that we didn't expect to go, and it's all new territory, and we're trying to navigate ourselves through that, and realizing that there were all these other things that led to us ending up being there. And that's become so much, there's so many things that have happened for you, I guess, down the track that positive things that would never have happened if that hadn't happened, kind of thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I can just a couple of quick questions in there. So how long after you had given birth did this occur?
So it was 3 months after. So
3 months. You might have
I
mentioned it. I just wanted to double check.
yeah. So
Yeah,
there was
because
a lot
so
of
you know,
stress.
we so often there's that conversation. You know, I'm thinking of say the role with midwives and doulas and whatnot, where they're looking after that woman in that first 6 weeks. But after 4 to 6 weeks, and then after that, you sort of thrown back into not. But it is what it is. That you get it back into the regular fold of regular people, and forgetting that the postpartum journey is not just that 4 to 6 weeks, even though that's kind of when it's categorized as. And it's so interesting that you make the comment. You might want to save this answer for later in the talk, depending on the way you want to cover things. But it was interesting for you to hear you say Kegels didn't not just not work, but they made the situation worse.
Absolutely.
So just interesting to hear a little bit more about
When
what
you
that
think
meant.
about Kegels, if your organ's already fallen and then you're squeezing, it's a pulling motion. And so it in my mind, I don't know the science behind, the person that came up with it or whatever, but it's a pulling down motion. My question always was, how can something like that return? My goal is to return my womb to center, to where it belongs. And
Right.
so by squeezing, it's not going to do, I mean, it might stop the organ from falling out, but it's not going to get to the roots of the issue.
It's not going to lift it back into place.
No.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think
And
because
did you go with using the faja wrap for a while, and did that sort of help, or
probably 2 days.
oh,
I
right,
was like,
okay,
it didn't feel like it did anything. And
right,
I just knew, Kathy. There was something in me that just said, I can
you
heal,
was the right,
and I'm
okay.
going to do it my way. And if I had have followed the doctor's advice, which was not any advice at all, was just go home
Yeah.
and have more children
Have
and then
another
get
baby or several and come back when you're finished.
oh my goodness. And this is the problem. Women aren't getting the emotional support because it's the physical. The physical is one thing that's traumatic, but it's the emotional side that women also they're not validated for having certain emotions around the anxiety, the depression, the fear, it's scary. They can't, one of the hardest things for me was not being able to lift my baby as she grew,
Oh,
because
okay. So
you
this is kind of actually, because there's so few talk about the healing of prolapse, yet you do, which
yeah.
is fantastic. But there's also so little talk about the symptoms of prolapse. So maybe just go over that. I mean, as you say, so often women, it takes a while for them to even know what it is or what's going on. So what are those symptoms that those women are experiencing?
Well, for me, obviously, it was that moment I felt my womb descend. It ranges. Some women experience pain. I didn't experience any pain. For me, it was like a bearing down, like felt like a beach ball in there, There'd be
Right.
times when I'd be walking and I was certain my insides were going to fall out, in the moments where you're, out to lunch with friends and you have to walk back to the car and, oh my God, I feel like my uterus is going to fall onto the ground.
And you could visit, using a mirror, you could see it yourself quite easily.
I looked once, and then for me, it was more about keeping that vision of healing in my mind's eye. And that's what I say to women in my support group. It's, yes, we can be diagnosed with a grade or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's not important. We need to if we keep focusing on what's wrong, then we're going to invite more of that in. So even though,
yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah. So tell us more about, because I know that people will be very interested here of your real practical things that, were the actual solutions. I know, and now you know, this is, we try not to use these forums as a way of kind of self-promoting. It's more about sharing the information.
Yes.
But in your case, it's kind of a different situation, because, you know, we do need to self-promote the, you know, your books, particularly, you know, your main latest book, because that is the information, and that's the point, is that people can get hold of it now. So tell us about your experience of the experience of the healing journey. You know, maybe what are the main contributors? We sort of touched on that on prolapse.
Yeah.
But also, you know, what are the steps to the healing that, you know, you now really are advocating for people?
Sure. The first thing, Kathy, that I always say to women is they are their own guru. It's not about me telling a woman what she needs to do to heal. I can give the guidelines. I can say what worked for me holistically. I can tell women the practitioners I used. I can tell them everything. But their journey is their journey. So it's really important for them to come within, to listen to the body's signals, the body's symptoms. Prolapse is a symptom. I always looked at it as a symptom. And so when we listen to our body and we look at it as a symptom, we're then more inclined to follow the steps that are unique to us. So I can certainly give lots of advice to the whole holistic picture, which is really important, but then it's really important for then the woman to go and choose within that what feels right for her. Because this has been the problem with the prolapse industry, is that it's a blanket approach. Kegels, you know, the different machines that they have and things to tighten and tone and whatever. There's no talk about holistically working with a woman where she's at, because even though two women might have the same symptoms, how they arrived at those symptoms would be very different. So
how they arrived at those symptoms being very different also means how they get cured from those symptoms could be very different.
That's right. So
I think that there's such a there is a handing over of power that just recurrently occurs within the modern medical industry machine. And you know, it's not the machine or the machine's fault. You know, it's like, why are we handing over everything? And it's, I think it's there's an ownership that not always everybody wants to take hold of, right? You just want to go in and get told, like, do this, this, and this, and you're fixed. Yep. Okay. But to think that there's some kind of inner healing, that almost sounds like, oh no, you know, I just want a pill for it.
Most women and men feel, if you interviewed a panel of, I don't know, 100 women, you would find that their overriding fear is they're not good enough and that they fear their own greatness. So a lot of times we avoid doing these things because we know in our soul that we're here for greatness. And that doesn't mean, you know, success in the modern way that we deem success. Greatness can be turning up every morning, being present with your children. It's, we have this fear because we measure ourselves by how society has put forward how women need to be. And we're fearing things so much that we're scared to show up and scared to actually claim our divinity and our divine feminine. And we're born with it and we've got it. And if you start following the holistic principles, which my next book is called Healing Prolapse, Where to Begin, and lists all those principles that you can start to bring in to your everyday. When we do that, we start little by little, we connect more and we see more and we experience more within our bodies. And when we do that, we do become our own doctor. And it's not putting blame on the medical profession, because doctors go in, you know, some doctors go in with a pure heart wanting to help people, but they can only help with what they're given. So it's really important for us women to reclaim our bodies and understand we're imperfectly perfect. We don't need to measure ourselves by the cover of a magazine because that's not real anyway. And, you know, the womb falling or prolapse of any form is really just, we've come so far away from that. You know, we've
So how
lost.
so how do suppressing the emotions contribute to prolapse symptoms?
So if you think about emotion, so when I had prolapse, if I was feeling down, if I had a particularly bad day, I would literally feel my uterus follow suit. So when you think about it, a negative emotion is a downward energy. A positive emotion is an upward energy. So we're so used
So
to
I mean, that's fascinating, right? So when you're emotionally down, it was almost like your prolapse was acting as a barometer
absolutely.
of what's going on in your day. So when you are in a positive day and you're seeing the great side of everything that you can see, and your prolapse is less affecting you, and when you're in a down day, you feel more symptoms of it.
100%.
And how interesting. I mean, that we all know in our heart of hearts that so it doesn't almost matter if it's psoriasis or
Yes.
so many other conditions, that how we're feeling emotionally will impact that physical condition, right?
Absolutely. And we get so used to, you know, emotion over the top of emotion, over the top of emotion, shoving it in and not having any outlet. In the wild, animals know how to defrag after a stressful event. They literally shake and let it all out. We don't do anything. Even if we want to cry, we hold back the tears for fear of what someone's going to think of us. So go ahead and cry. I tell women, cry, let it all out, because by holding it in, you're just, every time you hold your emotions in, it's going to affect the physical. It might not happen straight away. You'll feel it on a subtle level, obviously, because you're holding it in. You feel that constriction in your throat and whatever else comes for you physically. But we have to let it out, and we have to consciously let it out. And I've learned through prolapse, and I've had shingles, I've had pneumonia, because I didn't listen. But it's when you start to listen, you go, oh, okay, I'm not going to go that track again, because I know my body's going to tell me what I need to know.
Right. Yes, and I mean, shingles is very much one of those types of, or cold sores. That's the same virus.
Yes, over
Cousin
my
virus.
liver. It was
That
over my
that
liver. It was anger, you know.
mm, and people live with those chronic conditions, and they know their emotions will
Yes.
manifest into those physical. So what are the main factors or main contributors to prolapse from that holistic perspective? So obviously emotional, and
Yes.
I mean stress, anxiety, etc.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, lifetimes and lineages. I've done some research around, for those that believe in reincarnation, we come in with an energy body that has been in different bodies and had different experiences over lifetimes. And so it only makes sense that we're carrying certain wounds and things energetically. And unless we can work with them in this lifetime, it is going to affect us on some level. And then there's the lineage point of view, where you look at my mother, her mother, where I was in my mother while she was in her mother. Like, it's, if you look at it like that. So it's all energy. Everything is energy in my mind, and it comes to the physical. So it's what we do with that energy. Posture is talked a lot about in the prolapse world as being a contributor, which is absolutely true, but it's also lack of self-love. If you see a woman walking in the street and her shoulders are stooped, it's her heart chakra is facing the ground, because she doesn't want to show her heart, because she doesn't love herself or feel worthy of love. And this is a collective issue for women. This is pervasive because of where we've been lied to, basically. about our worth and our power and our divinity. And really my work around this is guiding women to see that they're their own guru, and that it's time to rise up again and claim our power, because we are powerful. Men are too, but it's in particular with prolapse and this whole issue, it's time to understand we can heal and we deserve to heal, and we're amazing.
Yes, because suppressing our emotions will contribute to prolapse symptoms, contribute to symptoms of anything else chronic, and or it will develop into something chronic that you didn't know you had before. We had a speaker on here recently where we were talking about infertility, Dr. Julia Bartrop, and the crazy thing there is that stress has become the biggest contributor to infertility for both male and female, because we live in a world where that fight and fright and flight is, we're functioning in that realm so much, and we all know that our digestion slows down when we're in that mode. We all know that. Well, a lot of people know that. That's fairly common knowledge, that you need to rest to digest, kind of thing. But what also gets forgotten is that reproduction also slows down in those moments as well, because it becomes a non-necessity in the body. So when you're in anxiety and you're in stress, yes, you're not going to digest, but also you're not going to reproduce. And now we're in a situation where 40% of couples with infertility comes from the male, but his stress levels, etc., causing low sperm counts. So it's 40% female infertility, 40% male infertility, 10% both, and 10% unsure. So the point is, if it's going to affect our digestion, which we know, it's going to affect our reproduction as well. Oh, that's a bugger. When you're trying to have a successful career and also trying to conceive and start a family. It's often, isn't it, that it's not until those things come along in life that stare us in the face. And where you had the situation of the prolapse, like it's a physical manifestation of what's going on. Absolutely. And so often for people, it's not until they face infertility, that's the first reality check, where they go, oh my God, my body's not working to its optimum.
Yes, because we don't realize we're so used to being in stress that it's become normal. We don't actually realize that we're in that state. And leading up to prolapse, for me, I was in a great deal of stress. Through pregnancy I was stressed, and my daughter had chronic eczema after, I think it was sometime after I got prolapse, she had chronic eczema. So I was dealing with that at the same time, but that was a manifestation of the stress that I'd been under and had caused her gut to not be properly healed or formed when she was a baby, and it's a cascade. And to think that stress doesn't affect things on a physical level, it absolutely does.
I know, one of the myself and an Australian obstetrician and a British midwife and some other experts around are volunteers on a Facebook forum called Ask the Maternity Gurus. And so we volunteer to sort of help women around the world where really the obstetric or maternity healthcare advice that they're getting is not always the best, and certain countries kind of are particularly attracted to that forum, and and the lack of knowledge for them is pretty horrific sometimes. But one of the commonest things that women will say is, and it's usually pregnant women, they'll say, I'm so worried about. And look, and sometimes it's that I'm so worried about, and it's a really little thing, that even common sense should come in and go, look, you shouldn't be that worried about that. Like, come on. And sometimes it can be something that's more, generally, a genuine obstetric or medical complication. But it's the words that come out, I'm so worried about. And that's right from, 4 weeks pregnant sort of thing. And oftentimes I hear myself saying, look, one of the best things you can do for your pregnancy is to dial down, intentionally, proactively dial down your stress. So you want to every day be doing meditation, doing preggy yoga, doing qigong, or, just going out of your way to de-stress. But tell us more, what is it that you want women to know when it comes to prolapse? And we will give us the advice that you want to be passing on. And of course, before we finish today, I do want you to talk about your books and how they can help women with suffering.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll start by saying prolapse was one of my biggest blessings. So prolapse is a symptom, and it does not have to be a life sentence. Yes, each of us have our different manifestations of the symptom, and not all are related to emotions and stress and things like that. There may have been a physical impact that, caused something, but even so, the human body is incredible. We were born to heal. We were absolutely born to heal. We've just been lied to and become so disconnected from the true essence of ourselves. The medical model, for all its wonderful things, has really forced that disconnection away from ourselves, where we don't trust ourselves anymore, and we stress about, like you were saying, about being in pregnancy.
I'll just interject in there that basically, when we talk of medical homeostasis, that is the body is at a microscopic cellular level, it is trying to heal itself and create equilibrium all the time, isn't it? That's what it's doing all the time, consistently.
Absolutely.
And obviously sometimes it's better, it's working more effectively or less effectively based on a lot of situations. But it's when you say we're born to heal, absolutely, like at a physiological, anatomical level, that is our function. Your body's trying to do that all the time. And generally symptoms are, the symptoms that we see of disease is usually, it's showing what the body's trying to do.
Absolutely. I say to women in the support group, you graze your knee, it heals. Yes, prolapse is a more, it's a bigger thing to heal. What I used to do was, in our backyard was a slope. So I used to lie with my head down on the slope, my legs up, so I was like this. And I would talk to my body and intend it to heal and show it what I was wanting it to do. I would sleep with a little pillow under my hips so it would, be like this. So it was an intention I had, and I gave my body by physically showing it, this is what I want you to do. And that's what it did. That's what it did. We just need to learn to trust.
So tell us more. Sorry, I interjected about the healing. So continue on about what you want women to know.
Yeah.
And I guess particularly what the health, the stuff that the health professionals, because that's what most of the audience here is, those maternity health care professionals, what is it that they need to be able to know, to say to women, to mention to women perhaps?
That our emotions are just as important as the physical manifestation of what's going on. So if a woman is presenting with prolapse, yes, she is presenting with that physical symptom, but she's in distress. It makes me emotional even thinking about it. It's huge. The emotional impact of prolapse is, I've been healed for 5 years, and so I have that cellular memory and the conscious memory of what it was for me. And the emotions were such a huge part, the anxiety, the frustration, the depression, the not knowing, like, even though I knew that I could heal, there were days where symptoms would still be bad, and it's hard not to go into that space. And you just need to keep pushing forward and trusting and having faith. And that's why affirmations were really important, and why the first book that I did put out was specifically affirmations for a foundation for women.
Actually, can we go into that topic of what were the main tools in your toolbox that you use? Because you obviously, it was that whole journey. You tried this, you tried this, you tried this, you tried that. So what, were the things that made the most profound improvement?
Definitely affirmations, journaling, writing down what was going on for me and looking within that for any clues. Because when we journal, the subconscious mind comes into play, and if we just release and allow, and we may uncover things that we didn't know about ourselves, or what our body's trying to tell us. I worked with a naturopath and a bodywork healer who did a technique called NIS, which enables the brain to connect with the body part that needs to be healed, because sometimes the brain isn't getting that signal that the healing needs to occur. I did light language meditations every night for many years. I did other sorts of, guided meditations. I would ground myself. My feet were on the ground to uptake negative ions, which, inflammation in the body is so prevalent because we're wearing shoes all the time. Getting sunshine. I won't say don't, but I still don't wear sunscreen because I know that my body needs that sunlight. I worked with a homeopath, amazing homeopath. What else did I do? So many things that I dipped in and out of, but those are kind of the core things.
And I guess people are sort of dying to know a little bit of but kind of think, what about the non-emotional, the physical healing? Did you use any tools in that toolbox as well?
So I went to see a yoga teacher pretty early on, and she put together a really gentle sequence for me, which I did. But other than that, I didn't really work on the physical, besides nutrition, clean water, minimize my exposure to EMFs and Wi-Fi, which causes cellular stress. It's a really important thing to do. For me, I just knew that working on my emotions and all the other things that I've talked about would filter down to my physical. And that's what happened. And I would still.
And do you think obviously this was a long journey because you were exploring, you were finding your way, but with somebody who now has access to your information and your guidance, how long, every woman is different, but it's a bit of a yardstick. How long is it taking for clients of yours to see results? What kind of, I guess, can they expect in the journey?
Yes, for me it was 4 years, because I had to basically invent the wheel for myself. And women, I get asked this question a lot, and I ask them, what do you believe? What is your belief around it for yourself? Because no one can tell you what is possible for you. Only the woman herself knows, when she starts her holistic healing journey, whether she's getting results here. It could be a feeling. It might not be a physical result straight away, but it might be, yes, that feels good for me, and I can feel that there's going to be progress. So I'm going to continue that way. And I call it a journey because it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a blessing. It's not even about the healing at the end of the day. It's about the discovering who you truly are. and the healing comes as part of that. If you can keep that faith and have that belief and hope and that inner knowing that your body knows what it's doing and you're supporting it, the main thing that you can do is to support it holistically, mind, body, soul. And then you will be able to answer the question for yourself. And for one woman, it might be a year. For another woman, it might be 6 months. It really all depends. And the key is to listening to your own body and trusting the messages that you're getting and then acting upon that. Because if you support your body in what it needs, a lot of women say they don't know how to do that. And that's why my next book that's coming out in a week gives them that foundational start. It can only be that way. If we give the body what it needs, if we give the mind what it needs, the soul what it needs, our emotions, then, you know, it takes work. It does take work.
Okay, it really is time for I want you to share more about your existing books and your new book, you know, and how they can help women who are suffering. And that sort of goes in with one of the questions we've had is, do your books also cover a woman who suffer prolapse a long time after they give birth? This particular maternity professional, Kirsty, has a client who is in her late 60s and has only recently been diagnosed with prolapse, and she's a grandmother. So yeah, so I'll let you sort of incorporate the answer to that within, you know, just do explain about your book. And also now, for those that have registered for this webinar, so are watching it live or are watching it later, they will receive an automated email from Zoom with your information. But for those people who are going to be watching this later down the track, do also include now, you know, the information about your books, but also the information about how people can contact you. Thanks, Shannon.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kathy. So I'll just speak to the 60-year-old who's just experienced prolapse. I would say to her, do you have a human body? Have you healed things in the past, like even a grazed knee or whatever? A 60-year-old may just need to support herself differently. I was 35. She will just need to support herself differently. She may need to look at her hormones. You know, it's unique to her, but she still has a human body. If she supports it in the right way, mind, body, soul, holistically, then, you know, obviously I can't say she will heal, but even if someone didn't fully heal, it's that process of journeying and learning and feeling better through everything that you're doing to support yourself. And then healing naturally comes as part of that.
And the books, I guess, you know, they're really talking about prolapse, or is there such, or have you got quite a strong focus there on the postpartum aspect of it?
So it was only ever intended to write one book. That was it. And now there's 3.
Yeah, as we do.
So the first book is all affirmations. There's over 100 affirmations grouped into mind, body, soul. And it's available on my website, Amazon, and all the other online retailers, Barnes and Noble. Because I wanted that to be a foundation, because what we believe is so important to our healing journey. If we don't believe we can heal,
give the name of your book again.
Oh, it's this is it here. Healing Prolapse, 101 plus affirmations for your journey within. And the next book that's coming out next week is also called Healing Prolapse, but Where to Begin. And that is a guide of where to begin. What do you do? If someone has no idea about holistic healing, it's really a guide to help them understand where to start and to awaken women to their own power, greatness, and divinity. And then the third book, Journey Within, which was going to be the only book, is filled with holistic practitioner insights. There's text in there from over 100 years ago that I found from practitioners back then working with women who had prolapse.
So this third book is one that you'll I mean, you've got the first book is out right now.
Yes.
The second book is almost out.
13.
And the third book you are working on now.
Yes, it's
correct?
almost finished.
Yeah.
It's with an agent in the US at the moment. So I'm just sort of exploring whether I want to self-publish or go the other route. But so that will be out in the first half of next year. But the Where to Begin guide and the Affirmations book, both of those are really great foundation for women who don't know where to start or might have a slight understanding of where to start. And really, because it's about being your own guru, it's, you know, the world is their oyster, really. It's a guide. So
Fantastic. Okay, well, we sort of now you've explained about where they can buy. So the current book and the new book are both going to be available on Amazon. So they just really need to look up your name and they'll be able to find it there. So that's not.
There are some other authors with my name, funnily enough, but yeah, so the healing, if you look up Healing Prolapse and my name or Healing Prolapse, it will come up.
Yes, and talk about your email and website, etc. too.
Okay, so my website is my name, shannondunn.com, and all the information's on there about the books and sessions that I offer, that kind of thing. The support group on Facebook, which has over 2,000 women in it currently. And I will say that since I started talking about being able to heal prolapse and heal holistically, there have been women in my group who've gone on to heal as well. So I say that when one woman says it's possible to heal, then anything becomes possible.
Just an interesting aside here. We seem to have quite a lot of Kiwi health professionals, particularly, that have I've been watching live today, and we always get quite a few Kiwis, but we usually get a broader spread. What I'm not seeing here today, which is kind of unusual, is the North Americans. So usually with our topics, you know, we get that sort of, you know, we get a lot of Australians and Kiwis and North Americans and Europeans and whatnot. But I'm just kind of like, there's a dearth of like, where's all the North Americans this week? There's none practically.
They would be my biggest
I'm just wondering, is there, do you think that this is prolapse itself as a topic is just almost not known about there, or
it's really interesting?
What do you think is going on?
It's such an interesting question, because my background is obviously journalism, and I've done PR, and I did a little bit of PR around the Affirmations book when it came out, and crickets. I think it has been such a taboo subject for so long that it's still taboo in some way. People don't want to talk about it. Women don't want to talk about it. You know, I'm paying to put a feature in Natural Parent magazine because I want to get the word out there, because the conversation needs to change. We need to be looking at this in a new way, because the way that it's been treated in the past hasn't worked. So I actually don't know, but I just think there's such a stigma.
It's just really odd. It's not what I'm used to seeing, and it's like, it doesn't surprise me that Kiwi maternity health professionals are potentially more aware of it as a topic. It doesn't surprise me. I think New Zealand is very holistically minded in a lot of ways. But like, that's just a really weird situation that we're not seeing any.
I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think anyone has come out talking about healing prolapse before.
No, I'm certainly not aware of anybody apart from you.
So when it's something that's new like that, when it challenges people's belief systems, that, oh, how could you possibly heal that? You know, no one's talked about that before.
Because it's seen as such an anatomical thing, not a mind, body, spirit thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's just, as we've talked about, it's a physical manifestation of a whole holistic picture.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay, look, if anybody's got any other comments or questions, do fire them through ASAP, because we're almost kind of out of time. But yeah, no, also talk about your contacts as well.
Oh, yeah. So my email is my name as well, shannon@shannondunn.com, if anyone wants
Right.
to reach out. My website, I've said, my
Yes.
books will be available on all the usual channels and also on my website. Yeah, I think that's the
Is there
main.
any other areas of your website of information that women should be looking at?
Yeah, obviously have my services page where I've sort of outlined 3 kind of main services that I offer, but I can tailor unique, because that's really what I offer for anyone that I work with. It's a unique consultation or journey. It's
And obviously you can deal with people internationally with that as well.
yes, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And it's
the days
really
of Zoom, between COVID and Zoom, we've just kind of, everybody's realized that we don't need to be in the same room all the time.
no, exactly. And
Okay.
women need support, and my wish is that more women and men go on to support women in this way and to speak what is truth.
So in conclusion, is there anything else that you would like to add before we wind things up?
Yeah, just for women to know that they are good enough. They deserve to have everything that they ever dream of, and they deserve to heal. And healing is absolutely possible. It all starts here. It's all the
Love it.
mind. Mm.
Thank you so much, Shannon. And it's neat to have you finally on here. And, because Shannon and I have been, had a lovely collegial friendship for, quite a few years now. And it's great to appreciate the work that everybody has these lovely journeys, and we end up in this area that we've become passionate about.
Yes.
And knowledgeable about, because of that wisdom that going through that journey has created for us. And
Yes.
and I guess I'm the same with integrated maternity health care, and you've got this. It's just wonderful that we can have these opportunities to share this wisdom, because there are just so many people who have got amazing amounts of knowledge because they've specialized in such a specific topic. It's just brilliant. So, and you look gorgeous as ever, as she always does, Shannon.
Oh, thank you so
much. Yeah, you do.
Well, what it is, it's about women finding their light and finding when you have gone on that healing journey, you connect to the light more.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the things that is so true of you, in particular, and you feel your radiance, when you are in the presence of Shannon. I think everybody watching this will feel it through Zoom, but when you are in the same room with you, you feel your aura, and it's beautiful. You're doing what fantastic work, and thank you on behalf of women for what you're doing and what you're sharing. It's appreciated.
And thank you, Kathy, for supporting me and this message. And as we've talked about, it's not easy getting this out into the world, and but we keep going, right? We keep going, and because women need to hear the message that we've got.
We do, and we know in our hearts, I don't know exactly when, but we do know in the future that people were going to look at what we're talking about and going, oh my God, like that was cutting edge back then. Like this is basic. Like everybody knows that now.
Yes, but it has to start somewhere. A seed has to be planted in order for it to sprout. And busy over here planting seeds and hoping that someone listens out there and it helps them. And I know that what you do has helped so many, and I know that the women in my group, some of them have healed because I said it was possible and guided them. And now they're going at, there's a woman in my group who had a really, you know, not a great case of prolapse, and she's healed, and now she has a business called Women's Cycles. So she's created a business out of it as well. So it's, you know, it's planting that seed, and then it blows off in the wind and, you know, plants somewhere else.
That is so good. Hey, thank you so much, Shannon. It was awesome to have you here today. And it just happens to be a very grey and rainy day where I am today, which is usually we're in kind of a place in the world that's a bit sunnier, and you just added some lovely sunshine into the room today.
So kind.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for everyone for, you know, watching, because I know that everyone's busy. Even in lockdown, you get busy, and it's nice to have an audience to listen to the message.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Shannon. And we'll see you all next week, or we hopefully see you next week, and at our next maternity natural health webinar. So everybody have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much, and thank you, Shannon. Bye, everybody.